Alright guys, after we finish create our web service, so let's implement this API to our application. So first I'm gonna install some library here. Wait, I'm gonna install axios, and I wanna install the store management. I will use zustand here. So let's check this out. Okay, one. I will install zustand and axios. Alright, after we install this, I'm gonna set up our request. So I'm gonna create one file here. I will call it make request. In here I'm gonna set up our axios request. I'm gonna create first. I'm gonna import axios from axios from axios, and then gonna create one request. I'm gonna create one instance, make request. I will use axios.create, and then we can pass our base URL here. Then with the I think let's check our. I'm gonna create one folder called config, and then this config will include our apps, let's say api.ts, and then we create one configuration for our API. Say a API base URL. Now export API. So our base URL, we will use our local host, but to use it in your to access it in our React Native app, we have to host it with the IP address. So we call php artisan serve host, and then we use this IP address. Alright, so I'm gonna copy this as our base URL here, and then we will have the prefix here, API v1. So I'm gonna call it base URL v1 with this. This one should be like this. Okay, so let's go back to our request here. I'm gonna import. First I'm gonna set up the absolute import first. Here I'm gonna define one more, let's say config. Here C config. Alright, so let's go back. I'm gonna call it import API from this one should have the prefix here, config, and let export it as a module instead. API config. Okay, let's go back here. We import API config from config. Alright, so this one we use API config dot base URL v1 Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna export our make request. Like this. But in here I'm gonna add the interceptor to filter the request response before it send back to result. So here I'm gonna call con handle response interceptor like this. This one have two parameter. The first one is success handler so let's say pure function. Let's say here wait con handle response success. Another one we call con handle response error. Okay, after that I'm gonna this one we can use here. Oops, sorry. This one should be our response here should receive the response, and it should be axios. Import the response here, axios response. Okay, and then when we receive the error, should be the error axios error axios error. Okay. So in here we can say, let's go here, can say our instance make request dot interceptor dot response, and we use this one take two argument. The first one is the success, that handle success response, and the second one handle response error. So in here when we set this interceptor before this axial request success fulfill, it will we can filter the response in here and send back the promise. So in here I will call this directly here like this. So this is the default. So we can check the response here. Oops. Response. Let's say response. We're gonna use one instead. So log errors. So this one should return back the data in here, so we can return something like data like this. Status should be response status, and status text should be response dot status text. This one you can add some parameter like if this response is success, you can say success true, and in here you can return back the successful. Okay, so in here I'm gonna return back the promise, gonna reject if this request fail. I'm gonna send the data error dot response dot data. Okay, Okay, and this one status is the same. Oops, this one should be error status from error response dot status. This one should be status text error dot respond dot status text. Okay, and in here I'm gonna send by the response dot data. Okay, alright, so after that I'm gonna add another function here. I will use it to set the default header. Example, like you set the token to the header of the request when we use for authorize request. So in here I'm gonna say set default header token. This one should be token and it is a string. So to set the default header token, we gonna say make request dot default dot headers dot comment dot authorize dot authorization equal to barrier, and we can pass our token here. Alright, so now we go to go with that export this. Okay. Oh, in here we should have another one to delete the header token when we log out. So let's say remove default header token. This one we can say delete make request dot default dot header and dot comment dot authorization. Copy this one. Alright, so after this, let's go back to our service. I will create one folder here. I will call it API. This folder contains our web service endpoint function. So I will call add another folder, another file here. Let's say auth.ts. This one I will use the class. So let's say class auth APIs. Export this. This one have one function. I will call register. The register will I will call where our web service. So here let's say add another one called endpoints ts. This one I will note our endpoint here. So I will call this API endpoint. Oops. Export API endpoint. This one we will have register or register. Register like this, and this one verify user. This one login. This one our login with token. Login with token. And this one is logout. Logout. Alright, so let's go back to our auth here. I'm gonna import from this one endpoint. What is this here? API endpoint. API endpoint like this, and then guys gonna import our make request from util. Make request. This one we make request like this, and then we gonna call it. This one should be axios. Okay, and then we're gonna return our request here. This one we will use our URL. Our URL is the endpoint register here, and then we're gonna pass the parameter. The parameter is, let's say, check our APIs. Forgot already here. Username, phone number, this is for. So let's go back here and create the types. We don't have types. We create one folder called types, and then gonna create one file called auth.t.ts, and then we gonna define one interface. Let's say I'm gonna check here first. I register, it exists. Oops. I'm gonna copy it from here to here. Oh, this one like this. Okay. And then I'm gonna import this one. Register from types auth. So this one we need the data from this one, and then we're gonna send the request. Oh, this one method should be post, and then gonna send the data. Alright, I think it should work, but I'm gonna check the response first. Rest of it like this. I'm gonna check this first. When we fire the register, return the rest here. Okay, so our auth API is done here. First, I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna create a store first before we working on register here. I'm gonna create a store, so I'm gonna create one folder called store. This file it contains our store. This one we will create one file called usestore ts. For anyone who does not know how to set up the store in zustand, you can check their documentation and their best practice for TypeScript. here. You can check it here, how to set up store. So let's go back, and I'm gonna set up my own way. For best practice, I'm gonna create only one store that can combine another slice like the document say here. So let's go here. I'm gonna import the create from zustand. So our use store will be, we export the use store here. So we can say create and this one we have set and get. This one return the object. So for TypeScript user, we have to define the type. We export here type store slice. Store state. Go to export type. Sorry. Any for now. So we can define it here. And then for TypeScript, we have to we copy some of my code that I'm already wrote for my another project here. I'm gonna set up the store here. This one should be import from here. This one is the type that we can create for our slice that I'm gonna create later. So this one we can type any for now, or let's just ignore it for now. So in here I'm gonna create one slice. Let's say create register slice. In here I'm gonna import one type from our use store. Store slice from use store, and then I'm gonna import our register. Let's say we're gonna export a type here. Let's say export con create register slice. This one we can use store slice here, and our default state. So our state should be have, let's say t register slice. Oops. Then gonna have one function register. It is it will have the data here, and we use the data from our register. And this one should be promise function. Another one that we have is loading, should be boolean. Alright, so we can pass it here. And this slice should take two arguments, set and get. Then this one to return this like this. Our loading here should be default, it should be false, and register here should be exin, and then we take data, and then in here we gonna when we register, we gonna call set the loading into true first. It's loading. Oops. Sorry, I think we do not have auto suggestion because we haven't set it here. So let's import it here first. Import from create. Here we have two slice and create register slide here, and this one we can pass the store type here. So if you have another store, we can say and another type here. Alright, this one we can say let's follow this one. Can the structure here. So let's go back here, pass the set and get like this. Right, everything work. This one we can first we set the loading to true, and then we call the API. Our API should be in, let's check, from we import from our API, our service here. This one from the service slash APIs slash auth this one should be, I think we have to call this like this. Let's say auth. This one let's say auth API class, and this one let's say auth API equal to initialize the class. We have to call it new like this. Alright, so in here, let's go back here. We can import auth API like this. And then first let's check the response first. We can use try catch. So let's say respond await auth API register and pass our data here. And then let's check the error here. Error this one, I'm gonna check the response again. Alright, so now our store is set up and our API endpoint is set up. So let's run our project. Okay. Okay, after run the project, let's go to our register, and we done many things here. So let's call our register API. First, we gonna import the useStore from store useStore, and then we gonna take let's say cons useStore, and then we can select our state here, just like Redux use selector, Redux toolkit, state dot useStore, sorry, useStore dot let's say is loading. This one is loading. So let's pass this loading to our first. Let's just check this first. So one is loading. And then on submit here, we're gonna call our register APIs. So let's say useStore Oh, this one we can import it from here. We can call something like this: cons register use store stat register, like this. And this one we can call it here data set. So that's all. So let's test it out. I will debug on here instead of debugger, because it really slow. Let's say, oops, I think I forgot to add in the barbell. So let's check here. Okay, this one we have to add configs equal to .sc config. Alright, so let's rerun again. Alright, so okay, after run we got this, and then let's enter some field, let's test it out. So I'm gonna remove this. Okay, then let's say Sotia. This one should be the real number, so I'm gonna enter my real number. Cambodia. Oh, this one we see how to change it here. Right. Okay, test it again. After that we're gonna test this one. So let's check it out. Okay, we got the error message. So let's set this number already taken. So I'm gonna dismiss this. And sim I'm gonna have to refresh or delete that updated database directly. Our user here, close this. Okay, and then gonna run it again. Alright, success. Okay, I got the message too. Okay, that's all for this video, guys. In this video, let me summarize what we have done so far. We have set up our web service APIs, and we set up our store using zustand, and we test our register API successfully. So in the next video, I will continue configure with the register and verify account, also authentication flow with a good user experience. So do not forget to subscribe for upcoming video. Thank you.